Well, ladies and gentlemen, what a interesting situation that's happened today with Carney coming out and this guy is just a total buffoon. What an absolute clown. So I'll go over this analysis, what I think's happening. Carney says the era of close relations with the United States is over. He's trying to grift off of this whole, oh, the Republicans, Trump, they're terrible. And because that's really worked for them at least the past month or so. That's why they've been able to make up so much ground. Right now they're leading in poly market in terms of seats. They've got like a 56% chance to get the most amount of seats. It's either way, it's bad for Canada. I mean, if the Liberals win, apparently Quebec is very angry, Alberta's very angry. The country is just dividing itself. Canada is cooked. Yeah, I mean, I'm going to go like this guy is he's an inadequate leader. They just installed him. He's a plant from the WEF, but it's like this is a joke. Watch the video of him getting heckled at his rally. Yeah, I'll look at that. I have seen that. This is next level Canada. Ontario will be crippled. We have no leverage. The only way to avoid economic devastation is to join the United States. Elon Musk Doge interview. Yeah, I'm going to play that a bit later. I'll look at some of that. I mean, does Musk just keep saying the same thing with these Doge interviews, though? What do they think is unfair about reciprocal tariffs? Well, they're very reliant on trade with the United States, and the United States companies buying from them. And if it doesn't happen based on how isolated they are and how small their economy is compared to the United States, they have very little avenues in terms of other options with trade. So it's going to significantly harm them. So they're just really angry about it. But I mean, this was, I think this is a lot of like overreaction from Carney in the sense of he's trying to really hammer this point home of like the United States is the enemy and Trump is the enemy, and because it's worked for the Liberals over the past month or so. That's how they've been able to make up so much ground. $2 trillion versus $37 trillion GDP. Yeah, and also just the reliance they have on us for that GDP. It's like 38% of their GDP is entangled with trade with the United States. And with us, it's like 2% of, if we stop trading with them, we'd basically nothing. Have you seen the video of Zelensky threatening Putin by saying Putin's going to die? Yeah, I've seen Zelensky say a lot of weird stuff the past few days about that situation. I don't know where Ukraine gets this leverage that they think they have. I guess it's from the European NATO countries giving it to them. But that war is going to have to end at some point within the next few months, we would hope. Like, this guy is a total clown.
The old relationship we had with the United States, based on deepening integration of our economies and tight security and military cooperations, is over.
Is this a robot?
What exactly the United States does next is unclear. But what is clear is that we, as Canadians, have agency. We have power. We are masters in our own home. Nous sommes maîtres chez nous. We can control our destiny. We can give ourselves much more than any foreign government, including the United States, can ever take away. We can deal with this crisis best by building our strength right here at home. It will take hard work.
Yeah, this guy is so bad, man. It's just so fake, and there's no passion. The dude doesn't even live in Canada, or he didn't live in Canada. How can people be okay with this in Canada with this dude? But he keeps going up. Man, imagine if he wins, the total shit, just the shitstorm that's going to happen. Even with Quebec as well, but that, that's just a lot of destabilization with if it's Quebec and Ontario and Alberta. odds they join the EU, would that even help them? Yeah, I mean, it definitely seems like it's not surprising with how liberal they are and also how liberal those European countries are that they would move closer together. The EU already feels like the United States under Trump is kind of pushed them away because of Trump's relationship with Russia. Trump has tried to mend the relationship with Putin and really get this war ended, and obviously the EU, they're very anti-Russia. So it does, and now with the tariffs, it's like both the European countries and Canada, they're against the US. They're both very liberal. So, and I mean, against the US, it doesn't really matter. They don't have the power to do anything against us. But if they join the EU, it would make the western side of Canada very, very angry. Extremely angry. The most unenthusiastic human. I know. How does he have rallies? I just don't. I think this might have been an even better clip.
Our biggest challenge as a country is becoming the most urgent. Over the coming weeks, months, and years, we must fundamentally reimagine our economy. We will need to ensure that Canada can succeed in a drastically different world. The old relationship we had with the United States, based on deepening integration of our economies and tight security and military cooperations, is over. What exactly the United States does next is unclear. But what is clear is that we, as Canadians, have agency. We have power. We are masters.
This is Trump talking about the European Union sensing a potential collaboration with them in Canada and possibly putting tariffs on them if they do some type of deal with each other. Canada's going to have to go to the EU probably, and that'll be the liberal smear. Well, Trump pushed Canada to the EU, but it shouldn't matter, I don't think. I mean, it depends who wins their election, though. But a lot of this is posturing for this election. Let's take a look to see. 57-43. Carney possibly going to get a slim majority. The guy looks like the Joe Biden of Canada, but younger. Yeah, it really reminds me a bit of Biden, but like 25 years younger. A new potential coalition in Germany wants to ban lies because of disinformation and fake news threaten democracy. Man, Germany's a mess. And we'll have to see what happens with that. They want to ban lies. Oh, good luck. They probably can in Europe, though. They probably can get away with doing stuff like that. Can Canada pressure the United States much at all with the help of the EU? Pressure us in terms of what? That we're not relying on Canada for anything. And it's not like they have the military to do anything and to gain any type of advantage. Alberta Premier was right to ask Trump to stop the tariff talk until after the election. She got accused of wanting foreign interference. Well, of course, the media, the liberal Canadian media, is going to want Trump to continue the tariff talk because it's helping the liberals. Isn't that funny? No way Carney wins because Canada is genuinely cooked if he wins. Well, I think Canada is going to maybe be legitimately be destroyed in a sense of to where you will have Alberta and possibly Saskatchewan and maybe even Quebec leaving Canada. I mean, based off of these tariffs, based off of the Liberal Party and how bad they've been the past like 4 or 5 years in Canada and then winning again. You have not seen the sun out for one of your later streams. Well, I mean, it's because it's cloudy, but I cannot stream with the sun out because the sun shines right into this window because it sets right back there. Then there's a window right here, and it will shine in. So then I either have to. Now it's cloudy, but I either have to. It's either going to be the shade's gonna have to be down or it's gonna be cloudy. There's no way I can bring the sun. If I was positioned the opposite way, which would be dumb, or no, it'd be like if I was positioned that way, I probably would be able to do it. Thoughts on speedy annexation? What do you mean by that? Like an annex? Well, I mean, dude, any annexation needs context. Are you talking about annexing the entire country? I'm really vehemently against annexing all of Canada. I don't think it'd be a good idea for Trump or the United States to do that. I don't want that many people added to the voting in the United States. I don't want the liberalism added. I don't think it'd be a good idea, but I don't think that would happen. I think you're going to get a divide, and then we're going to start seeing Trump talk about Alberta. I mean, listen, it's already been announced by the lawyer who's pushing this that they're going to be going to D.C., the Albertan coalition or whoever the fuck's involved with it, but specifically just Alberta. So at some point, I don't know if Trump's going to make a mention of it or someone within the White House is going to mention it. There's going to be a narrative that gets pushed out to the normies, because right now, really, Trump hasn't talked about it. But when Trump talks about it, it's going to be mainstream, that Alberta potentially will join the United States. Now, that's probably going to come after the visit. What if we annex the good parts? Well, we annex all of Western Canada. I'd be happy with that. That's what I want Trump to do is Manitoba into the West annexed, including British Columbia, which is liberal. But it's more so we just want the land to look proper, when we annex them. You really can't isolate British Columbia. Carney was on the flight logs with Mac. Yeah, I know. Could you imagine if something comes out with him about Epstein? Because they're talking about release. Imagine if he gets destroyed by the Epstein files. It's not going to happen, but it's just crazy timing. Yeah. No. That's exactly what I was saying, man. That's exactly what I was saying in my video. Where's this comment? Like if there is any territory period without a statehood vote. No, where's this one comment? Yeah. It says, I'm afraid that the next Democrat president is just going to absorb Eastern Canada. That's the problem. See, the problem is if we take Western Canada, Eastern Canada becomes unstable, and Quebec just might be independent themselves. So then what even is left within Eastern Canada? It's just like not really a puppet state because they're all liberal, but it's just like it's a failed country at that point, Eastern Canada. I mean, you still have Toronto, you still have Montreal, but it's like, that becomes a problem. It's like we're biting off more than we can chew. And then you get the Democrat president, the Democrat Congress. They're like, oh, it just makes sense for us to take all of Canada now, because they would need that. And it would be very good for them in terms of elections to bring those people in. That's when you start getting, see, the thing is, it's like, I'm not sure how you can mitigate that from happening either. I mean, I guess you don't allow a Democrat to be president. Or for them to get control in Congress, I guess that's the way you do it. But that's a big problem. Chances JD being heckled in Greenland. I don't think he's doing any public events. They said. I think he's just visiting a military base, and I would presume he's going to have meetings. But that whole situation with Greenland needs to be nudged because they're not doing anything. So I think that's probably why the visit is happening, if I had to guess. Because otherwise, it's like we're going nowhere with this potential acquisition. So if Trump doesn't do anything, nothing's going to happen. Because there's really no reason. I mean, they want to be independent of Denmark, I guess, but they've wanted to be independent for a while. So at what point does it happen? They just had an election. That party that won, they want to be independent. Okay, so then is it going to happen or not? So it's like you have to nudge them and I guess have a negotiation or tell them the offer that the United States can give them. Putin made a comment. I think that was Putin that commented, saying that Trump is serious about acquiring Greenland. So it's kind of interesting to see Putin comment on that. But I think that was Putin. Sorry for the caps lock. But Vladimir Putin says Trump isn't kidding when he says he wants the United States to take over Greenland. It would be a great mistake to believe that Trump's plans to annex Greenland are an exaggeration. Yeah, so I think I would imagine it's maybe, you know, in a way we can help, the Russians can help us get Greenland if they would facilitate it, but I'm not sure on that dynamic. I guess it would go into the negotiation of the ending of the Russia-Ukraine war. People in Canada are far too brainwashed. They'd vote Liberal again after bringing Canada to its knees. They'd still vote for Carney. Yeah, I know, and we're seeing that right now. Like, we're seeing this really weird dynamic within Canada where, I mean, Trump has put Paul Vieira in a terrible position. He really has. There's no doubt about it. Now, I really don't care, honestly, because it's probably better. It's probably better for us and our chances of taking Alberta if Carney wins. But because it's like, well, if you're the conservative in Canada and you led by so much, you can't really agree, even though you have a similar ideological lens as the Americans do, the American conservatives. But if the American conservatives are seen as the enemy by the Canadian people, now that's why Paul Vieira's come out and said, no, the tariffs, Trump's evil. We don't want that, because it's really negatively affecting his chances of winning, Trump doing these tariffs. I mean, because they're galvanizing against Republicans, and so any Republican, even in, I guess it could be conservative in Canada, they don't like. It's a weird dynamic. It's like they don't want to be annexed by the United States, and so you would think they would be more of a conservative because that's more Canada first, protect ourselves, more military, rearmament. That's all conservative values, but they're like, no, we need to go liberal. So it doesn't really make sense. But that's why Carney's going out there and talking about how the United States wants to take us over. We can't let this happen. It's all this, stuff to fearmonger people into voting liberal. Although, again, that doesn't really make sense, because with liberal policies, it's always more give away stuff and keep little. So there's all this guilt with these Western countries. That's why they have horrible immigration problems. They just keep letting people come into the country. There's no actual investment into helping the native-born population deal with the crisis we've had with, unfortunately, the birth rates declining. I mean, this is happening all over the place in first world countries, and the answer is to import third world migrants, which is not an answer. It actually makes the situation worse because it masks the problem. And then eventually you look at it and you get something like Toronto. Have you guys seen the Toronto malls recently? That's no way to live. That's just no way to live. But that's the dynamic we're dealing with, and that really all goes back to feminism, honestly. And why can't Canada be a territory? Well, initially it would be a territory. I mean, it could be a territory. There's no, it's not like it can't be a territory, but the problem is that's a lot of people to make a territory. And then also you're dealing with, if they can become a territory, like all of Canada becomes a territory, you're talking about a liberal government in the United States when they get in power trying to make them a state. And maybe the people in Canada, they would get significant benefit, I think, from being a territory versus being a state. But you really risk them being closer to just becoming a state if they become a territory. I wouldn't want anything to do with Eastern Canada, honestly, unless they just stayed a territory, but you can't really predict they would stay a territory. Because if Western Canada, if the provinces just become states, then why wouldn't Eastern Canada become states as well? And it's like, I would say all the provinces probably become states if that happened, which I don't think would be good. That's really what Trump has been hinting at. It's not a good idea. You want the U.S. to have normal relations with Russia? Yeah, well, that's the problem, is liberals want it to be really hostile. But maybe the Russians can help us get Greenland if we have a nice relationship with them. But, I think Trump has gone to Putin and said, we need help. I mean, we are in serious debt. We have a $2 trillion deficit. We need help. I mean, the United States does need help. We need minerals, or we need something. We need money, dude. I mean, we have to somehow get the deficit down. So I think we're going to be doing a minerals deal with Russia in the Donbass, if I had to guess. And that's probably going to help the peace deal come together. As for the minerals deal with Ukraine, I think it has to happen, but it's a shit show. You can't keep 20 million as, yeah, I know. It's a lot of people to have as a territory. That's the problem. They're not going to feel properly represented, I guess. You're a Canadian living in Alberta. If you take our country, reset the government, remove everyone from power, and do an investigation. Yeah, well, but I mean, the problem is most of the people are liberal. That's the problem in all of Canada, not in Alberta. But if we took all of Canada, no matter what we do in terms of getting rid of the entirety of the government, the people are still very liberal. We have money, we just spend too much. Well, yeah, but then if we don't spend, it's going to hurt the economy. But I mean, it's like whenever there's a positive reaction, there's always a negative reaction with the economy. No matter what you do, it's always. But it's just like you have to chip away at it each year. I think that's what it is. We'll see if Musk is able to. We'll see what they're gonna. I mean, there's a lot of conflicting reports on Doge and how much money they're really saving and what they're cutting. So hopefully we can get some some actual numbers on the stuff that they're cutting, because there's a lot of stuff that's disputed right now in terms of the programs they've cut. I mean, they've at least saved 100 billion, but I mean, they certainly saved at least 20 or 30 billion just from USAID, cutting that. The U.S. is only interested in the western part of Canada. We'd get 9 electoral votes. Well, if we took Alberta, we'd get 9 electoral votes. But just Alberta. The other provinces would be their own set of electoral votes. I don't know their populations. I just know, I think Saskatchewan has a similar population as Alberta, maybe less, but I don't know. But I mean, worst case scenario, if we take Western Canada, I think the United States would come out ahead, even with British Columbia. Or excuse me, I think the Republicans would come out ahead over Democrats in terms of like the gains on electoral votes in voter block. But it would be close. But Trump would be facilitating it, so I think those people would probably appreciate it. You think the annexation could cause a domino effect? Well, honestly, the annexation would be based off of referendums. It wouldn't be the U.S. aggressively taking over the provinces. It would be the provinces are angry, and so they vote to leave. If the provinces vote to leave, it's a different type of annexation than the United States occupying these provinces and taking them over. The only way this happens is if I think the Liberal wins, if Carney wins, and then it would drive some of the western provinces to the point to where they might want to be independent. Elon Musk clip. Well, we'll go to Elon's. I know Elon did something with Fox News or whatever.
Our goal is to reduce the deficit by $1 trillion. So from a nominal deficit of $2 trillion to try to cut the deficit in half to $1 trillion, or looked at it in total federal spending to drop the federal spending from $7 trillion to $6 trillion. So sort of at a high level, you should think of this as we want to reduce the spending by eliminating waste and fraud, reduce the spending by 15%, which seems really quite achievable. The government is not efficient, and there's a lot of waste and fraud. So we feel confident that a 15% reduction can be done without affecting any of the critical government services.
Well, this is something that's really a long time coming. Remember, Obama wanted this. The government just got bigger and bigger, spent more money, and it's a long time coming that there's an agency from the outside to actually look at this stuff and eliminate it, and so there's fear mongering and stuff. Yeah, I'll look up that clip. That's
How many kids did you molest with Jeffrey Epstein?
Honnêtement.
and this dude's a soy. How do these people support him like this?
Autochtone.
How many kids did you molest with Jeffrey Epstein?
He's just a soy, man. Brett Baer had all these people from Doge talk.
The recipient of a Small Business Administration loan is a 9-month-old, which is a very, very precocious baby we're talking about here. So obviously it was just fraudulent. And they do terrible things. They actually will see that a kid's been born. They will steal that kid's social security number and then take out a loan and leave that kid with a bad credit rating. There was literally a baby. The terrible things are being done is what we're saying.
And how
we're stopping these terrible things.
And you can stop it? I mean,
well, we are stopping it.
The reason this is
Absolutely.
happening is because the two systems are not talking to each other.
Yes.
Right. And so you don't know at the Small Business Administration that you're giving a loan to a 9-month-old, which happened in one case, because you're not cross-referencing that with the Social Security Administration data that has birth dates. So that very, very simple fix eliminates tremendous fraud. And that there are multiple systems across the government where the systems are not speaking with one another. And if you just solve that simple problem, you would solve a huge amount of fraud.
Are you
so one of the ways that, like, one
Yeah, I mean, it's really a mess. There's just so much going on in the U.S. government. It's gotten bloated. They really need AI also to help out, just in terms of organizing the amount of money the government spends. He's getting nostalgia from the Epstein Island with the smile. He is a weird individual. He can't speak a lick of French. Yeah, he's trying to pander. You see that? He's trying to speak French. Did you already do a video on your March Madness bracket? That I did do it. I did touch on it in the video where I predicted the Sweet 16. My bracket's in the 70th percentile. Big balls. No, that big balls is a kid. He's like 20. Well, I guess that's not a kid, but you know, these 20-year-olds, they look like they're 16. Reach out to Frank Vaughn, a really solid conservative YouTuber of Alberta. He is very knowledgeable, and you are on the same wavelength. Does he want to join the United States or no? You know, I know some of the. I've been hearing some from some people that there's definitely some conservatives in Alberta that don't want to join the United States. They just want to be independent. So it just depends. Juan, what's up, man? After Liberation Day, the market will only go up and be stable. Yeah, I mean, I mean, we'll have to. I think the market is due for a bit of a turbulence. Any new meme coins? Yeah, I have some meme coins, honestly, that I like, that I've been looking at. When is Twitch coming? Does it really, I mean, does it make sense to stream on Twitch? I don't, people ask me that a lot. They should say you should stream on Twitch. I mean, I have kind of hit a barrier in terms of views with YouTube, but does Twitch push out live streams like to new people or no? Because YouTube really doesn't, well, I mean, I guess it comes down to like how I title my live streams and stuff as well. I should title them better. But I have noticed that. I don't know, just Twitch. But I feel like with Twitch, it's like, it's really not helping me at all because, like, I would have 0 followers on Twitch. It's just, you're going to restart with 0 clout. I mean, do you own any stocks or just crypto? No, man. I just own crypto. You see the new cash tweets? Let me look it up, man. And you know what, with X, it's like, you got to be very careful with this shit. I can't believe Musk is really bad about this this just degeneracy on this. Yeah, this is a huge coup for Bondi, for Cash, top MS-13 leader, and this is great because liberals just, they've ruined, like, Trump has an amazing approval rating on immigration because he's shut the border down, but that's even with the deportation numbers being bad. Imagine when the deportation numbers come up. And you know what? I was watching Piers Morgan and Anna Kasparian and the liberal simp Tyler Cohen or whatever the fuck. They're like, well, they're arrested. You know, they're deporting people that are, you know, I don't even know what it was. I mean, they're mad that they're deporting people that are in the country illegally. Like, Trump declared there was an emergency on the border, so there's going to be a lot. We're going to have to deport a lot of people. There's going to be some people that get caught up in it. This is what happens when you allow minimum 5 million people to come into the country within 3 years, and then a Republican takes over. Yeah, we're going to start fucking deporting people. You're damn right. Like, these people, they deported someone with a tattoo. Like, what? Like, there's like 20 million illegals in the country. What do you think's gonna happen? We're gonna be deporting people. There's gonna be mistakes that get made. It is what it is. I mean, when there's that many people here illegally, blame Biden for allowing that many people to be coming to this country. But this is a major coup for this administration. What they've done, they've got an amazing approval rating on immigration. That's with the deportation numbers. That they don't have the money to deport all these people. That's the problem. They don't have the infrastructure set up to do it either. And it's just like, the U.S. has made money off of these illegal immigrants. It's just not a healthy thing. It's not a healthy thing for any country. It's really not. And so we're trying to fix it, but there's going to be problems in terms of fixing it. Pam Bondi got a question about Signal. I think that's pretty much out of the news at this point, honestly. I said that was not a good thing, obviously, but, it can't happen again. Morgan is pro-Ukraine. Well, yeah, of course he is. He's a Brit. He's obsessed with fucking Russia. So that is what it is. Yeah. Well, everyone's been talking about. Remember when you talked about how immigration and illegal immigration is ruining the culture? You know what I was thinking? I was like, you look at the United States with our two-party system. I'm really not sure we can fix anything, honestly. I mean, obviously, I'm gonna want more radical right-wing beliefs, but just in general, like in terms of where I would want the country to be in 30 years, I think it's impossible to fix because we have a two-party system. The Democrat gets in, just removes all the Republican shit. The Republican gets in, removes all the Democrat shit. And it's this, it's like a Bermuda Triangle of death. Like nothing ever gets solved. And it's just, we've seen like the left, liberalism just take over and over. And the Overton window moves further and further. And maybe it's moving back a little bit, but not far enough. But it's like, if we actually wanted to change something in the United States, it requires like a long period. Because what is Trump going to do in 4 years? He can do, you can do certain things in the moment and it feels big. Like these acquisitions would be amazing. But the thing is, this is a perfect example of it. You go ahead and you take Western Canada. This is an amazing thing. And then liberals just fucking take Eastern Canada and then we got all these fucking liberals in the country and it ends up being a negative. I mean, smaller scale examples would be the Paris Climate Accord, where we have to subsidize smaller countries and give them shit like solar panels for nothing. It's only like like a few $1 billion a year, but Trump gets us out of it. The Democrats put us back in it. Now Trump gets us back out of it. The Democrats are going to put us back in it. This is amazing government action. We should deport all immigrants, even legal. Yeah, it's not gonna it's not gonna happen. Nothing that radical will ever happen. But also that would destroy the economy, dude. Honestly, if you did that, like even these illegals being deported, it does hurt the economy to a degree because they're cheap labor. But I mean, this is like you have to cut the cord at some point with these people. This is not a way to manage a country through the use of illegal. When you're $37 trillion in debt, there's no way to manage a country. And listen, I give Trump credit for trying to deal with it, but like when another thing people have to understand when it comes to the economy, if you want to try and balance the budget, there's going to be some fucking huge economic turmoil if you try and do that. Because you're talking about the government spending less money, which is very bearish for the economy and for the stock market. So it's like, well, we're trying here, but it's not the easiest thing in the world to satisfy everyone. Trump is trying to do it with these tariffs, and it's like, but even Trump, I mean, I think we're going to get some clarity on the tariffs, hopefully, within the next few months. I think Trump knows there has to be clarity when it comes to what his administration is going to be doing with the tariffs that stay on throughout his entire presidency and the tariffs he reins in. I think a lot of these tariffs he's deploying on April 2nd are to get countries to stop tariffing us, so we tariff each other and then the tariffs become useless. That's the hope. I mean, it already worked with Vietnam. I did a video on it today. Do we have any land in the southern hemisphere? We need to annex something down there. What, like a country in South America? I mean, the closest we can get there is the canal zone, but that's not even we wouldn't want the country. I guess there's Pacific Islands that you would look at. I wonder if Trump would do, I mean, it's just so much. I don't know if Trump would do anything with the Pacific Islands. But there were islands that the United States used to have control over as territories, like the Marshall Islands, Fiji. You would not want well, I mean, the Philippines just has so many people. Most people are fine deporting illegals, making things more expensive if it means we aren't. Yeah, and you know what? That's something that's been a big win, I guess, in terms of the shift of the window a little bit. Because there is a distinct difference from where we were at with Trump in 2016 versus where the country is now. And what it is, it's the independent people, right? The Democrats, they don't want anyone deported. The Republicans want all the illegals deported. So it comes down to the independents. How can you shift them? So it's shifted. Originally, it was, well, you know, just deport the illegal criminals that are committing crimes here. If people are illegal and they're here, but they're working, they deserve a chance. But now it's most of the country wants all the illegals, no matter what, no matter if they're working hard, whatever, they all need to go. And that's like a 62%. That's why Trump does so well with immigration. And also, I mean, it was just such an obvious play when you look at the immigration numbers, and Trump gets in, he immediately seals the border. So Trump's approval rating is really being held up with immigration because right now there's some turmoil within the economy. So you need other things to help keep your, approval on good standing. Because approval, you can say it's irrelevant, but if it's in like the low 40s, it does begin to be, it's negative propaganda. If you can just keep it around 50, it's not going to be a problem, especially with this situation with the economy right now. There's nobody like Trump. You will never see another Donald Trump. Trump was a once-in-a-lifetime president. He was the greatest president. Yeah, I don't agree. He wasn't the greatest president ever. But, I mean, definitely, Trump was my president for sure. But it's just, yeah, and I think Vance coming in, Vance is just, he's a politician, so it's going to be different. It's just different with these politicians versus someone like Trump who comes out from the outside. Only solution to divide the country by party. In 10 years, they'd be in ash. Well, I mean, how would that split up happen? People would have to move and shit because just the way it's divided right now, it's the major cities versus the rural areas. But I mean, I could see something forming like in certain areas of the country for sure. But these major cities have been destroyed by liberalism, just obliterated. And I like, I went to, when I was younger, I went to Chicago. Chicago was a nice city. San Francisco was kind of a shithole when I went. It was okay. I mean, But I'm not a big fan of cities, but there's sometimes cities can be enjoyable. I guess, you know, with cities, it just depends where you go. I mean, there's always going to be these crime-infested areas, but if you can avoid them. Can you show the whole Elon interview? I mean, dude, the Elon interview is just the same bullshit every time. I'm not mad at Elon, but it's the same shit. They want to save $1 trillion. We understand there's a lot of government waste. Let's see what they're able to do. I mean, that's basically, I think, probably what the interview is. Vance has so many advantages. One being he's young. The second being he's more passive on tone spreading than Trump's messages. Yeah, but you also face problems with that in terms of how passive you are when it comes to attracting and getting the low propensity voters out. Trump has in a sense, the cult vibe where people will just support him. Basically, they galvanize around him. Vance really doesn't have that. I mean, Trump will definitely, if it works out the way it works out, Trump will endorse Vance, and so Trump will help Vance to a degree. But I guess you could say Vance could win more college degrees, but it would be a problem with like low propensity with Vance, I feel like, more so than Trump. I mean, they're different political people. San Francisco is a homeless encampment. Yeah, the videos on San Francisco are insane. I mean, I feel like if you, in certain areas, also when you look at Oakland, I feel like the government should just drive down and put it on a live stream, just drive down these streets in California and also Portland, Oregon, and I hear there's camps in Seattle and stuff, and it's just like, if you showed the American people some of these streets in like cities that supposedly are decent, like every member within the city council, the state government, they should all be removed. I mean, it's just like, that cannot happen. Like how that's been allowed to go on with those illegal or those encampments, and it's just like so bad for a first world country to be dealing with that in cities that supposedly are supposed to be nice cities, like, you know, San Francisco. I mean, I guess Oakland's really not known as a nice city, but Los Angeles has had the problem, but they try and keep that to a certain area of Los Angeles, to be fair. The major cities in Alberta are being flooded with Indian immigrants in some parts of Calgary. You don't even hear English. But I mean, I think I thought I looked at the demographics of Alberta, and I thought it was decent enough to add them from what I saw. But I mean, that's all of Canada. I mean, the major cities have gotten flooded with Indian immigrants. They tried to do this program, and it's just it hasn't worked at all. Their GDP is like, if you look at Canada's GDP versus other first world countries and like Western countries, they might be like the worst. And that's with their initiative to where they've tried to import these Indians as part of some tech program. I don't know. I mean, the problem with Canada is, you know, Canada really has a double-edged sword. You're going to have declining birth rates. It's just the standard, you know, first world problems in the 21st century. Dealing with that is like a reversible thing that has to take like 30 or 40 years to reverse, like birth rate problems. It's like a death to a country. So you really can't do that. They already have a problem with low population per square mile. I mean, in terms of just there's nobody that lives in Canada. All of Canada is the population of California, and that's so much land, so they can't defend that. So then they're like, well, we have to bring in more immigrants. Well, it's like you think it's alleviating a problem, but it actually makes it worse in the long run if you bring in low quality immigrants. And yeah, it's just like, but that destroys the entire thing when you do that, in a sense. I don't know. I mean, the problem is they just have such a low population, and they're not going to be helped at all with the problem that these Western countries have had in terms of birth rates. So it's like, what do you do? I mean, it takes a while to try and repopulate. Stephen A. Smith is a token. Dude, Stephen A's been like having this feud with LeBron. I feel like it's fake. Like, it's pretty funny though. He's been having a feud with LeBron James. He said he would punch LeBron if LeBron did something to him. It was pretty hilarious. You live near the Bay Area in California, and it's a complete nightmare with homeless encampments, vandalism, trash, drugs, violence, etc. A lot of commercial properties are abandoned for lease. Yeah, I mean, and it's you have to have radical change, but the problem is, man, they're dealing with the Bermuda Triangle of liberalism. They just vote for liberal leaders, and liberal leaders are always going to be sympathetic to that type of thing. The only liberal that was kind of like, I'm going to be a badass on crime was Eric Adams in New York. But you want to know a great example is Chicago with what happened with Lightfoot, and then it goes to Brandon Johnson, who somehow has a 6% approval rating. They just keep electing these liberals. It's the Bermuda Triangle of liberalism. Like, the policies are just not going to fix the issue. They're just not going to. You cannot have this, mentality of we feel bad for all these people, we have to help them, and it just doesn't work, especially now that it's out of control. But it's like a snowball, and you have to stop it immediately. But if it gets too big, it just compounds. I mean, the illegal or the encampments and the homeless, it's just, if you don't nip that in the bud immediately, and they're never going to do anything, these liberal state governments. There's not going to be an actual program to do something with these people, because it's seen, I guess, by them as a negative, but it's just going to get worse and worse and worse. And then, I mean, you guys seriously should look up a video of people driving through some of these cities in California. It's really fucking bad. It's like, how is this in America? I mean, this exists in America? Yeah. I remember seeing that a few years ago. What you said earlier about a two-party system creating a Bermuda Triangle of never fixing anything spot on issue, really? Continuing to do and undo thing. Right. Right, the country has no guidance. There's some things that would fix that immediately, like that two-party system. But they would never be enacted. But it's like, this is like the Western culture now, where everyone gets, I don't know, man. It seems like it's if we get Vance for 8 years, but even if we get Vance for 8 years, I don't know. The only non-grifting center-left politician is Fetterman. Yeah, but even Fetterman has he's like a slob. I mean, you know what? He's kind of like the thing is with Fetterman, I just think he has he's really doesn't act like a politician. There's when you're either a liberal or a conservative, there's a game you have to play, and obviously he doesn't play it, and so he's disliked by his party. But if you don't care, then you can do it. I mean, it's very clear he really doesn't give a shit that liberals dislike him. But a lot of politicians care about that. They care about being liked by their party and by their voters. And so if he cared about that, he would be a lot more liberal. Currently at the gym. How are you at the gym? You must have good Wi-Fi at the gym. You listen to my live stream at the gym. Congrats. It's going well, man. It's going well. It's nice that it's still light out later nowadays, It is nice, I guess. Pam Bondi, Laura Ingram.
What's happening with this Las Vegas Tesla criminal who he was arrested and now federal charges have been filed against him? This was something that was needed given everything we're seeing happening to those dealerships and those cars across the country.
That was remarkable police work, working with the state police.
Did you see the fat ass black dude ram his like fucking his go-kart into a Tesla? Has anyone seen that video? Oh my god.
FBI, they have been going non-stop on this case. This guy is in custody. Laura, he is facing 5-year minimum mandatory to 20 years in prison. And this was great police work. This guy thought he got away with it. So these people better look out. They better cut it out, because we are coming after you. And at my direction, there will be no negotiating on
Come
these
after
people.
the Epstein files.
We are seeking 20 years in prison. They are setting off.
All right, what about the Epstein files?
The signals chat controversy that's going on. Is DOJ involved at this point? If so, why? If not, why not?
Well, first, it was sensitive information, not classified, and inadvertently released. And what we should be talking about is it was a very successful mission. Our world is now safer because of that mission. We're not going to comment any further on that. If you want to talk about classified information, talk about what was at Hillary Clinton's home that she was trying to bleach bit. Talk about the classified documents in Joe Biden's garage that Hunter Biden had access to. This was not classified.
Yeah, but I don't like this answer. See, I wouldn't accept this answer if I was the leader. I don't accept this. You take ownership for a fuck up. That's just my opinion. It's just like, you know. But listen, I understand how liberals do this game where they don't give a fuck about Hillary and Biden and all the shit that they did, and then they go after the one mess up. But you know, I don't appreciate an answer like this. It was a problem. It's not going to happen again. We need to make sure it doesn't happen again. That's the end of it. When is someone going to jail? When is an Epstein thing going to be released? We need a rumor on an Epstein thing. We just need the rumor to come out. Stefan Diggs to New England. Yeah, but he's like washed, isn't he? He's like washed, man. I mean, what is this? An action shot? Mike Waltz, deep state mole. I just think he probably fucked up, honestly. I mean, you know, just say there's internal discipline or something and move on. The Democrats set the standard. Nobody got fired for major blunders under the Obama administration, so why should people get fired for minor ones under the Trump administration? No. But the thing is, man, it's, you know, I don't really compare to the. I don't want Trump to compare to the Democrats, you know, administration. I think if you mess up, you own up to it. I don't really give a fuck about the Democrats. The Democrats didn't win. They're irrelevant to me. Our people are in power. They need to do the proper things, and so the whole thing with the Democrats are irrelevant. And look, I understand there's going to be gaslighting, and the Democrats are they're gonna be angry at every little thing, but who even cares about what the fuck the Democrats say? What does it even matter? If there's a fuck up, there's a fuck up. I mean, it is what it is. The whataboutism from someone like Bondi or someone like Hegseth, it's just not. It just comes off as weak to me. I mean, and I know there were no generals fired under Biden with Afghanistan and how crazy that is, but that did sink Biden. I mean, it's not like Biden got off scot-free from Afghanistan. Afghanistan did destroy his administration 100%. His approval rating went from like +9. I don't know what it was when the day it happened, but it was like +8 and then like -17 over like a 2-month, 3-month time period. But I mean, I understand what you're saying, man. I do. You thought Hegseth's deflection was poor? Yeah, well, I mean, I thought when Hegseth originally got questioned when he landed in Hawaii, it was, you know, it's not a big deal. You're waiting for all the facts to come out, okay? But then the second time they talked to him, it is just deflecting off of it. And the problem is it's just a lack of accountability, I think. That's the real problem. But listen, maybe there's not another problem, and this is irrelevant if there's not another problem with this. The problem is if there's more intelligence issues, then it becomes a compound thing, it becomes a narrative. But if this is it, then there's not going to be a problem. But I mean, the problem is this is very early into the administration and it's happening. I don't know. I'm not sure. Dude, these people are just, these really are, this is just a product of liberalism, Western liberalism.
By glances over at the car, and moments later they return and quickly start keying the passenger door with a phone in the other hand.
You can tell in the video too, like they're actively starting to record and they're recording the whole thing. You can.
I mean, it's just clip after clip after clip. The thing is I get a little nervous when I search shit on here because there's degeneracy on here when you search anything. Trust me. Loved your Vietnam tariff video. The mainstream medium doesn't give Trump credit whenever. Well, yeah, that was such an easy win for Trump, too, because he didn't even have to put the reciprocals on to Vietnam. They immediately caved. And so I think there's probably going to be no reciprocals put on Vietnam, or they're going to be really limited because it doesn't really matter. They've already taken their tariffs off of us. The amount of Teslas I've seen from they have the side cam, they have like a door cam. I mean, these people are, why do they think they get away with this? I see it so many times. It's really interesting, you know, just how these people operate and how much rage they have over Tesla. They've been told to have this rage. It's been sewn into them to have this rage over Tesla, the American EVs. But it really is like this robotic thing. There's very little actual independent thinking with these people. It's all groupthink. All politically motivated. You don't see how it isn't being cracked down on. Well, they are. They're prosecuting these people, but it's like, why does it keep happening? You think these people would stop doing it? Seattle, ho capital of the world. Seattle, Washington. You could argue a lot of major cities. Atlanta. If the Epstein files end up not being released, what are the chances of Trump being in it? Well, it's because of Israel. That's why they wouldn't be released. They're going to have to release something. They said there's a phase 2. Remember, these things come out of nowhere. The JFK files came out of nowhere. Trump said it randomly one afternoon and it got released the next day. So let's hope something happens. I mean, that's really all we can say about the Epstein stuff. Loved your previous video on the Alberta meeting. As long as the province comes along with their oil sands then it doesn't matter. The rest of the country hates us. Yeah, I mean, if we get Alberta, we're totally energy independent with the amount of oil and natural gas they have. So, you know, I'd be very happy with that with Alberta. I mean, it depends on a lot of different things. Obviously, it's not going to just happen, but it's not really going to acquire any aggressiveness from us. There's going to be no aggression because it would be them having a referendum to leave, and then they would join us as per, you know, they'd have to get protection. Even if there is a phase 2, doesn't mean they're going to release it. No, they said there's like a lot of stuff that's come out. Trust me, like I've seen the past week, there's been a lot of like they're getting their ducks in a row. I mean, you don't have to believe it, but I think there's going to be some news on it at some point for sure within the next few weeks. Canada is really having some issues. Let me see if I can find this thing that I liked. Alberta and Quebec won out. I don't know about that, but it's getting to that point. I mean, it's getting very ugly. This is what the Trump tariffs were designed to do, honestly. Quebec's had a long history of wanting to become independent. Well, it's Alberta's oil within the country of Canada, but when they seceded, Canada has no right to any of that. Trump is already on UK betting markets for candidate for 2028. Yeah, that's, come on. UK betting markets are saying Trump's going to run. They just take bets, you know, for the hell of it. It's like there's so much that has to be solved for that. Pete Hegseth out before July. Yeah, I don't think so, man. It really hasn't even gone up. I mean, Hegseth didn't even get blamed for it. It wasn't Hegseth. You could say, well, the use of Signal was bad. I don't know, man. The weird thing with Signal is they're like, well, you shouldn't use Signal, but I mean, I thought there was a lot of those things were discussed on Signal because the messages auto delete. I mean, I guess they needed to use a more secure messenger, but Hegseth wasn't even the one who's to blame, unless you say, well, they shouldn't have done it on Signal. Trump took off regulations on U.S. lumber. Well, he had to. If you know if you're tariffing Canada, the lumber situation becomes important in the United States to produce it domestically. From what I know, Canada has better lumber than us. I mean, I'd still want to do trade with Canada with lumber, but just in terms of quality of wood. Change it to you really think they're going to get a new amendment passed? Come on. 3/4, it's not going to happen. RJ Ryan, I appreciate, is the Senate appointing judges. Haven't heard anything. I haven't heard anything on that. There is a pretty big election happening in Wisconsin. It's not looking good for Republicans. I'm sure you guys have heard of it. Trump's been, Musk has been shilling it a lot. The Supreme Court state election in Wisconsin. You know, it's these state elections are not good for Republicans. Off-year elections. Alaska too. Yeah, I know. Alaska does have a lot of quality lumber. Do you consider Pam Bondi hot? She appears good looking in some pics and not so much in others. Well, I mean, she obviously wears a ton of makeup. I mean, it just is what it is. I guess that's most women, but I mean, if she's like 61, obviously. Yeah, I do think it was Mike Waltz's problem. I mean, they tried to like blame it on a lower member of the chat, but I think it was Waltz. I mean, Waltz said it was his fault when I watched something yesterday, so he said it on Fox News. It's like he even said he's the one that added Goldberg to the chat. Trump doesn't want all of Canada, just the western half. He's never said that. The only thing he said is he wants all of Canada. What we've said is he should only take the western half. Did you hear about the? Yeah, I heard about that. The election that just happened in PA, where the state district that went blue, even though Trump won it by 15 points. Yeah, I know, that's horrible. I commented on that a few days ago. Trump won the district by 15 points, and then, 5-6 months later, Republicans lose it. That is real bad. That's inexcusable. If you win it by 7 or 8 and then you lose it by 1, it's still pretty bad, but I guess it's more understandable. But that can't happen. Myron Gaines is good, but do you think he pushes for degeneracy? I don't know. I don't watch a ton of Myron Gaines. He does seem like he's starting to push more content out, Myron Gaines. Well, all these people, they have the fan accounts and stuff, so you see clips and things like that. So, yeah, I mean, he's pretty, he's pretty conservative from what I see. He didn't say he added Goldberg. I mean, if you watch the Fox News interview, well, either way, I mean, it's screenshotted. So someone has his account and added him on his account. It is screenshotted. It says Michael Waltz added Goldberg. Goldberg to the chat. You want Saskatchewan? They've got a lot of uranium. Well, I think Saskatchewan would be the next in line after Alberta. That's what people are saying. That's what Canadians are saying on how it would work. Rapid response. Yeah, rapid response is the ultimate propaganda machine.
Well, I'd say there's a couple of things we're really committed to in our work at HHS. Number one, making sure we continue to have the best biomedical research in the world. And number two, making sure, which President Trump has said over and over again, that we 100% protect Medicare and Medicaid. But there's a lot of opportunity. So if I take...
This looks like a teenager and a 40-year man, combined together. It's hard to explain.
NIH is an example. Today, if you're an NIH researcher and you get a $100 grant at your university, today you get to spend 60 of that and your university spends 40 of that. The policy that we're proposing to make is that you get to spend 85 of that and your university spends 15. So that's more money going directly to the scientists who are discovering new cures. Another example at NIH is today they have 27 different centers. They got created over time by Congress, and they're typically by disease state or body system. There's 700 different IT systems today at NIH.
700 different IT systems.
IT software systems.
They
can't speak to each other.
And so they don't talk to one another.
They have 27 different CIOs. And so when you think about making great medical discoveries, you have to connect the data.
Time out. You said 27 different chief information officers?
Correct.
And most of them are non-technical.
So there's a lot there.
There's a lot of opportunity. It will make science better, not worse.
And
well, I'd say
Dude's always got the boots on with Musk. Yeah, I mean, it's a total mess. It's a total mess. They got a lot of clips from this, it looks like.
I'll say
what they should attack? They should attack all the messages we get from Indians on our iPhones. I just got another one today talking about an unpaid toll. Dude, what is going on? My phone number is so fucked. And I've had my phone number for a while. It's been a good run. But yeah, my phone number is on several lists because it's really bad. I've been getting hit with stuff like twice a week at this point, 3 times a week. You have an unpaid toll and other shit, and it's like they don't even try. But maybe that's something that they can do. That is something that Musk would, I'm sure, would look at, like trying to help us with these unsolicited calls or texts.
Improvements that we're trying to make to Social Security are helping people that legitimately get benefits, protect them from fraud that they experience every day on a routine basis, and also make the experience better. And I'll give you one example is at Social Security, one of the first things we learned is that they get phone calls every day of people trying to change direct deposit information. So when you want to change your bank account, you can call Social Security. We learned 40% of the phone calls that they get are from fraudsters.
40%?
That's right. Almost half.
Yes, and they steal people's Social Security is what happens. Is they call in, they say, they claim to be a retiree, then they convince the Social Security person on the phone to change where the money's flowing. It actually goes to some fraudster. This is happening all day, every day. And then somebody doesn't receive their Social Security. It's because of all the fraud loopholes in the.
Yeah, we need like cyber security, internet security. You live in Ohio, all your friends get the toll scam as well. I don't even think it's limited to Ohio. There's like 7 people that just agreed that they get it as well. But it's text messages, not even phone calls anymore. That's something that you would think the Department of Government Efficiency would look at, because that is a big issue with like pretty much. I mean, iPhone users, and I'm sure Android as well, but it's not good, man. Just move to a new state, you've been getting them as well. Yeah, I feel like even if you got a new number, it wouldn't matter. They would just be able to do it anyways. Doesn't Musk have to tend to his businesses? Well, Musk says he sleeps 4 hours a day and he just constantly works. But I mean, the businesses, you know, if you're the CEO, it's almost autopilot with these businesses. He gives up operational duty to people below him. Delegate. That's the word I was looking for. You're right. Cutting $3 billion Biden aid emergency slush fund. So there's another $3 billion hopefully saved. Did you see when X went down with a cyber attack? Yeah, I think it got attacked 3 times in one day. I remember that. Got attacked 3 times. Well, you're talking about Musk just focusing on his businesses. I mean, obviously that would be in terms of making money. You don't really want to be in the political light. Nothing really good can come from it. You're going to anger someone, either Democrats or Republicans, if you pick a side. So obviously Musk cares about this. Walk Talk 21. So would a Mark Carney win be good or bad for America? Personally, to me, Polvier is a clown and Carney is Diet Trudeau. Yeah, I mean, it depends. Well, it's actually a complicated question. You know, I think Carney winning would be good for a lot of us, honestly. I think Carney winning is what we want. I mean, I want Carney to win, but it's more so because I want to see maybe Alberta be annexed or something happen with that. And it might still not happen with Carney. We don't know. But, you know, whether it's Carney or whoever, I mean, you do want the liberal in office because Paul Vier has the Canada First policies, and he really doesn't like the United States in terms of that, and so he's trying to galvanize around that whole idea. But you'd get better immigration policy for sure under him. It's not even close. And you want Canada to you know, not have all these immigrants come in, but it's like, I think probably Carney winning would be better. but it's tough, man. Either one, there's pros and cons to both of them. College basketball scores, I don't have that pulled up. Yeah, let me see an update on this. Bama winning by 11. Higher scoring game, not surprising. Good game, Florida, Maryland. Do you think China would do a soft invasion onto Russia from the Far East to regain their old territory back and natural resources, since the Russian military is spread out and weak? Well, that would be a huge escalation if that happened. Yeah, somebody was telling me about China possibly doing some actions against Russia. I mean, you can't predict that. I mean, unless they're moving massive military to that border area. But not anytime soon. But you're right. Russia is they are very spread out. They don't have a lot of there's not a lot of presence on the eastern side of their country, obviously. What do you think about ICE arresting the MS-13 gang leader? It's a big win for ICE. It's a big win for the administration. You know, that you invest. This is stuff that, you know, certainly would not be happening under a Democrat. So you get criminals that aren't supposed to be here out of here. It's a big win. They'll do it eventually. Well, I mean, that's vague. It's like in 10 years, 20 years. I don't know. There's really no point in talking about it then if it's that long. But yeah, I mean, they could claim that territory again. It's you know, it's the problem with historical ties to territory. Doubt it, especially with their future trade route ambitions. Part of the reason why Trump wants Greenland. From the Chinese, but I think there's no way that NATO would allow the Chinese or Russia to have ownership of Greenland. Even if Greenland wanted to do a deal, it would be axed by NATO. There's no way they would allow that. Thoughts on antidepressants? I'm not a big fan of antidepressants. I think they're kind of a mask to a bigger issue. But I mean, I guess it depends what antidepressant you're on, but MS-13 later, Biden forever, bro. Yeah, that was still fake. That was fake though, man. You remember that? That was some fake bullshit. They got paid money from, like, Tom Homan's like, here, I'll give you $100. Say this shit. Rehearse this line. That had to have been fake. I mean, it's funny how no one even, you know, cared, but it was like, there's no way that's real. Come on. Thoughts on press secretary baby? Did she announce she's having a baby or something? Did your area have any fallout from the illegal migrants up in Springfield? No, I'm not close to Springfield, man. And you know how that is, like, dude, honestly, a lot of that is sensationalism. Like, if you think, like, other areas of Ohio were affected by that, you know, that's an isolated thing, but it's, I mean, it was very bad. They flooded the fucking city with It became like 50% Haitian migrants. People just need sunlight and food that isn't trash. But it's just the way we live now is so unhealthy in general. You know, even the way I live, like I make pretty good money, and just the way I live is not healthy at all. And you can fix it and stuff, and not in terms of like I eat 5,000 calories, obviously not, but you know, it's proper exercise, it's sunlight, it's a bunch of things that we used to always get because we had to get it because we had to go outside, we had to do certain things. Now we don't have to, so there's going to be serious negative repercussions in terms of mental health when stuff we're so accustomed to doing we're not doing anymore. Antidepressants work for some. Well, they have to work to a degree to even be able to be prescribed, but yeah, I'm not a big fan of antidepressants. And they get prescribed so much. It's crazy. But I mean, have you seen the charts of like the most depressed people? It's always single white women. Pretty great, like in their 30s. Without fail. And by far the highest on antidepressants. You're not convinced the election won't be rigged? What, the Canadian? I mean, I don't know. Maybe they'll rig it for Carney. They want that connection with the EU. Dude, if Carney wins, that's going to be hilarious because we're going to get some real shit with Alberta then. We'll get some good videos. Elon recently said he thinks there'll be 1 million people on Mars within 20 years. Yeah, he's obsessed with Mars. He knows, like, he needs this for SpaceX and for his legacy. And so whether or not he'll be able to achieve what he wants, he'll get people up there for sure. Musk will. He's just obsessed with it. And again, it's like his legacy thing. He wants to be remembered for it. Because you do all this other shit with Tesla and stuff, it's just not, doesn't have the impact that Mars would in being the first. We want liberals to win, right? I mean, it depends your perspective. I mean, I want liberals to win because I want to try and be able to annex Alberta and Western Canada, and I can do videos on it. You know, so that's why I want liberals to win, honestly. I mean, I'll root for Carney, I guess, but for me, it's like I don't really have a rooting interest either way. But it's not as simple as saying, well, we want the conservatives to win because we're conservative, in my opinion. Trump is live. Where's Trump speaking at? Trying to turn Canada red is like trying to get a conservative governor in California. It's not going to happen. Well, it's not. It wouldn't be all of Canada, but I agree. There's no way to turn all of Canada red. If you added all the votes combined, they're just an American conservative. It's not going to happen. Well, maybe they have it on here. Speaking at a White House dinner. Canada was conservative. Yeah, but there's a difference between Canadian conservative versus American. You want to move to Alberta if it becomes a 51st state? Did you watch any MLB today? Not really, man, honestly. I mean, maybe a little bit. I don't know, man. The MLB, they put that pitch clock in and it's like it's better. I don't know. I think it's worse, actually. I think they force the game to speed up and it's actually worse. But people, I know it's people like that, kids like that. Fake polls, Paul Veer knows it. Yeah, I mean, maybe they are fake polls. We don't really know right now. It's just surprising. Well, now it's like 60-40. It went up a little bit. It went up since I checked it last. Well, now it's over. That's all right, man. I mean, dude, I've listened to Trump speak a lot. Trust me. I mean, it's like I've listened to him say a lot. But speaking at a dinner, I don't think too much is going to be said. That's if he mentions Greenland, you can tell me. Tell me if he mentions Greenland. With Trump, you never know, but it is kind of funny, the Greenland stuff. You think Musk's comments go deeper just beyond legacy? Legacy billionaires often try to obtain legacy without major risk. Well, if you want legacy, there has to be some risk. You don't attain a crazy legacy to where you're remembered for centuries without significant risk. Will the U.S. buy Greenland, or are we going to war with Russia over Greenland? No, we're not going to go to war with Russia. If Russia wanted, Russia has no rights to Greenland at all. Even like, I think NATO would back us up on that between us and Russia. Honestly, they would have to, because they certainly wouldn't want Russia involved there at all. So then we would have a lot of help. Hey, Trump said he wants to annex Yemen. Yeah, I mean, you gotta get rid of the Houthis somehow. If Carney wins, they are going to go full TDS in Canada and may never get Alberta. If Carney wins, I think the shit's gonna hit the fan for sure. Maybe even with Quebec as well becoming independent, but definitely Alberta. I mean, I don't know exactly what would happen. I mean, I'm sure they would try and mend the fences, Carney would, but it wouldn't be a good situation in Canada, just with everything that's happened with the Liberal Party and how much control they've had and how bad it's gone. If they win again, it's demoralizing for a lot of the Conservatives there in Alberta and just in Canada in general. Yeah, did you see they were talking about doing 10 minutes quarters in NBA or in college basketball? Yeah, they probably will. I mean, it does seem like every sport has gotten ruined, especially if they do 10-minute quarters. That would ruin it. They did it with the women's basketball, 10-minute quarters. You're worried about Carney being president. He said relations with the U.S. are over. That's not good, especially since he is probably going to work with the EU. Well, you have to understand, if something happens to where they're going with the EU, I think it would really, really, really hurt relations with Alberta, which is their real. They get a lot of money from Alberta. Eastern Canada does. I think the goal would be if that happens to where you could argue, well, Trump has alienated Canada. Now they're turning to the EU. The goal would be to get Alberta, like as a province, to take Alberta as a state, and possibly Saskatchewan, to where them going with the EU, that would really weaken them because they would lose Alberta. I think that would be the goal if that happens. Because if they do go with the EU, Alberta's not going to like that if Carney does, because he's got the relationship. But I know Liberals are going to try and spin it like, well, Trump has alienated Canada against the United States. That's why they're going with the EU. You're asking if the cartels will escalate? No, if the cartels escalate, that's just going to give Trump the green light to do something. I mean, he technically already has the green light to do something against the cartels, but if they escalate something, it's going to be... Putin knows that Trump wants to annex Greenland, so he's trying to play nice and stay on Trump's good side, since he wants U.S. control in the Arctic, not Canada supported EU. Yeah, but I don't think Putin wants U.S. control. I mean, yeah, right now Putin has decent relations with the U.S., but 7 months ago he had terrible relations with the U.S. It depends who's in office. Liberals really hate Canada, or excuse me, really hate Russia. So if a liberal wins again, I don't think he'd really like that. I mean, there's no way any of our major adversaries can like us gaining more territory in the Arctic with how powerful we are as a country. None of them can like that. And there's this jousting match over Greenland because it's going to be very important in the future. And the United States, I mean, we have a great claim to it in terms of where it's located. If you look at us certainly compared to China, certainly compared to Russia, we have a great claim to it based on the geography of it. It's basically in North America. It's right next to Canada. Calling Trudeau governor was funny. Yeah, he was just trolling him like so many times. Sean, the whale enters. Got to keep fighting for everything we want and never give up. We fix voting and deport, and we will continue winning. I agree, Sean. Once we reconstruct our nation, it will make it harder to become liberal. The left isn't breeding also. Yeah, that's why they're trying to import immigrants, because they're not having kids. Liberal women do not like having children, but they don't foresee the future. Children are sacrifices that you have to make, and then they pay off in the long run when you're older. That's why all these women are depressed. They don't have kids, and it's very bad. But you're right with liberal women. They don't have kids. That's why they have to supplement it and replace it. But I don't know if that's the correct way. You know, like we want our natural born citizens to have kids. We do. But it's just this liberalism that's taken over. Sean, I appreciate it. The whale, yes. Yeah, I'm calling for Trump to annex Western Canada. Trump should just bring me in as a speaker, and I could help him and be like, you know what, you need to take what you're saying is not right. You can't take all of Canada. But even if you take Western Canada, I mean, we've discussed it. There is a risk. There's a serious risk with acquiring all of Canada if a liberal gets into office, because they would want all the liberal areas. Do you think U.S. presidents' terms should be 5 to 6 years like a lot of other democracies to allow the country to stabilize better, since it keeps flip-flopping? Yeah, but that wouldn't change anything either, dude. One or two more years wouldn't change anything. It just wouldn't. But I mean, do you want that so Biden would still be in? So it's like, yeah, when Trump's in office, I want it to be 6 years. When the Democrats are in office, I want it to be 4 years. You know, so it's like you can't have it both ways. Because if it was 5 or 6 years, then Biden would still be in technically. But I mean, I guess if you retroactively went all the way back, it wouldn't be like that. But you know, it's you need a prolonged leader. We just need a prolonged, right-wing leader in the country. It's gonna have to be about 25, 30 years. It's gonna have to be that, because it just takes a long time to fix this, and to fix the birthright, and to fix the immigration and all of it. And there's going to be turbulence. But the thing is, like, even this Trump stuff we're talking about, it's so retarded. It's like, oh my God, Trump is destroying the economy. Like, the dude, he has 4 years. He has 4 fucking years. This is like, and we just live on such a small scale for these presidents to try and fix certain things. But I mean, there's turbulence now, and Trump has structured his economic plan based off of it's 4 years. So there's going to be turbulence. You try and fix everything. You try and get the interest rates down with inflation down. That's what Trump had in 2019. And then the idea is by year 3 or year 4, it's a better situation. Do you think Trump's executive order is introducing voter ID and identification federal election will go through knowing the fact that Democrats in blue states will not comply? Yeah, I think it's going to be very hard to pass any of that. It has to go through Congress. I mean, I guess it's possible to pass it if you've got the majority in Congress, but those liberal states, I mean, the issue, I think what it comes down to is they say states should be able to, it's their right to choose how they have their elections, basically. That's the argument, I believe, rather than a federal mandate on every state being required to run elections a certain way. If you only earn $75K a year, kids are expensive. I know. And that's the thing is, you know, you see some of these other Western countries try and introduce things that make it easier to have kids. But see, that's not even the first step, you know. Just getting natural born citizens to have kids, that's not even the first step. The first step is making the economy positioned to where the housing costs are lower. A family can live on just a male salary. So that's a long process to do that. I mean, it just takes a while to do this stuff. Thoughts on Trump wanting to join the British Commonwealth? Trump's a traitor, man. I just saw Alex Jones react to that. He was really angry. I think it's basically to get better trade, and it's like a symbolic thing. That's what I think it is. Like, it's... You know, it's like Trump tries these things to where it just benefits the United States by doing these like proxy things. I don't even. I think I think it makes our trade easier or some shit. I don't know exactly, but it's like a symbolic thing. It's make an April Fool's Day video pretending to be the biggest Mark Carney fan, but that's not April Fool's. I actually like Carney. I love Carney. And the thing is, we don't even, well, the polls are very close, to be fair. Yeah, I'd have to make some fake polls for him. April Fool's video. Whoa. I don't know if I should do an April Fool's video. People get pissed off. Should I do like a realistic April Fool's video? You know, that could be real. People will believe it. And should I do an April Fool's video like becoming a... No one would believe that. Becoming a liberal. My liberal arc. Trump was paid off by Elon. Well, I mean, Elon definitely gave him a lot of money to win. There's no doubt about it. That's just politics, though. Blue states joining Canada. Do a video talking about California joining Canada. Ben Shapiro, Daily Wire have become a joke. Yeah, it's because of the Israel love. I mean, it's not good with the Daily Wire. They've lost a lot. You know, they lost the 2 women. And so, I don't know what's going to be happening to them. What if Canada doesn't let Alberta leave? Well, they actually have a law that you can, like, they have to let them leave if they have a referendum. I mean, I guess they could say, no, we're not obeying the law, but then, I mean, what right do they have in terms of that? They just have a weak military. I'm not sure what they can really do. Remember that, you know, Quebec almost left in the 90s, and you have a referendum to leave, and if the citizens vote for it, then they can leave. Did Greenland coin see a boost today with Putin mentioning it? And Ursha and JD Vance visiting this week? Yeah, I mean, you know, the Greenland coin's gone up. I've seen that. It's at like 120K. But, yeah, this coin also looks pretty phenomenal. You know, I'm trying to find like like a Pepe type coin, like a 4chan meme is what I've been looking for. Yeah, this market is turning around. When you see coins like this, the market starts turning around. This is very healthy. But yeah, this is a turnaround for this coin. This is a turnaround. It's up to 120. It's had a lot of price action recently. You know, JD Vance going there. I'm not sure it's going to be an all big visit that's going to make the headlines. It doesn't look like it's going to be a huge visit for JD Vance in Greenland. It looks like it's more under the radar from what I've heard, but so it might not do much for that coin.
That our strength is our diversity. We've been talking about this for years as a country of immigrants, and we let them define the issue on immigration. We let
the country it's white immigrants from Europe, but it's actually settlers and then white immigrants.
Them define the issue on DEI, and we let them define what woke is. We got ourselves in this mess because we weren't bold enough to stand up and say, you damn right we're proud of these policies. We're going to put them in, and we're going to execute them.
Yeah, this boomer is just completely lost. I mean, he's tripling down on losing. He's tripling down on the open borders, on DEI. This guy is going to lose somebody a lot of money. He's going to lose donors a lot of money. Although it's all money laundering, they probably don't lose anything when they give stuff to his campaign. Yeah, he's running in 2028. He'll last this one state. Do you think that Trump needs approval from Congress to withdraw from NATO, or can he do it anytime? No, he can do it anytime. It's legal. He can do it anytime. It's an interpretation, but he can do it anytime. Liberals will get really angry. They'll say it's too much executive power, but no, I've looked it up. He can do it. But they're going to contest it, but he can do it. I believe that's how it is. You know what? I think what Trump is going to do, I think Trump is going to say this. He's going to give NATO an ultimatum. The only way we're staying in NATO is if all of the NATO countries pay 0.5% of their GDP to the United States, then we'll remain in NATO every single year. If they don't do that, then we're going to leave NATO and start a military alliance with Russia. Because this is just, we're sick and tired of this with NATO. It's so much money lost in Europe, and it's just, we don't do this anymore. We're sick of the Middle East. We're sick of Israel. We can't waste any money. We gotta stop wasting the money. We don't have any money. We've lost all of our. We have no money. we're $37 trillion in debt, which honestly you could argue doesn't matter, but at a certain point it will matter. I mean, it does matter, but it's also we're strong enough to where it doesn't matter, but it does. But Ginger on April 1st, Biden the best president ever. Trump sucks. Go woke. Go broke. We support your liberal arc. Do it. My liberal arc should, yeah, I mean, I don't know. People would get pretty angry about it. I don't know how I would present the video either. I mean, I could troll for sure, but I don't know. We'll have to see what happens in terms of the news in April. Settlers and pioneers, right? But then it's like, well, what about all the immigrants? Yeah, it's all from white people from Europe. Those are immigrants. Is that what you consider an immigrant today, Tim Walls? When you picture an immigrant, do you picture an Irishman like me? Is that really what you're talking about when you mean immigrants? We know it's not. Come on. So they create this false premise on how the country was built. Did you see some Republicans challenge Waltz to a fight event for charity? Yeah, I saw. It was like Kane from WWE, who's now has public office in Tennessee. And he didn't accept it, obviously. I mean, it's like, they aren't putting woke away. Huh.
Election integrity.
And why is this not loud?
They all have seen the reports from cybersecurity experts that they've released analyses of election data out of Clark County, Nevada, that shows some pretty convincing evidence of election tampering. My biggest fear is that we're not going to make it to the midterms. So what can we do to make sure, A, that the midterms actually happen, and B, that they're free of fraud?
Yeah.
This is so sad. She's a terrorist. She's an election denier. I can't believe what I just heard.
Well, this one's the core. We saw just recently Donald Trump's executive order to make it more difficult, specifically to women, trying to make it more difficult for women to be able to vote. We see one of the first things they do is try and restrict the vote. This is one of the things, though, that this is going to take power to the streets. I don't know.
They restrict the vote by requiring voter ID. What does Europe do? All those liberal countries have all voter ID. They give out a specific voter ID in Europe, and we could distribute that. Trust me, we could, but liberals don't want it. U.S. and Russia alliance would be called the Arctic Alliance. Well, I think it would be more countries than just the U.S. and Russia. But I think Trump needs to give NATO an ultimatum. You're going to have to pay us money, and we're leaving. We're sick of this. We're sick of... Trump is sick of Israel. He's sick of Ukraine. He's just done with it, honestly. I mean, it's like... We're just sick of all the foreign money. We can't afford it. We can't afford it, trust me. It's like, well, we're weakening these foreign countries by proxy. Well, we can't afford to do it, man. We're done. We're going to have to tap out. But I mean, you do want to have global power to a degree, I guess. It's always a tightrope. Like, but do you want to be the global police, especially nowadays? They do pay us money by buying our weapons. Yeah, but that's just the military-industrial complex. Massey wouldn't beat JD Vance. Yeah, I don't think Massey would have a chance against JD Vance. I mean, Massey has like all the anti-Israel people on his side over Vance. But Vance would have a Trump support if that hypothetical matchup happened in a primary, and there's no way Massey would have a chance against Vance. There's too much there's too much MAGA. There's too much MAGA, and MAGA would do what Trump says. Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of Massey's stuff is kind of performative. He tries to raise money off of it. I mean, I do appreciate the things that he says. Trust me, I do. I think a lot of it's good America First policy, like proposing the dual citizenship stuff. That should never be a thing. You can't serve the U.S. government and be a dual citizen. I mean, that's crazy to me. Unless it's like a certain situation where, but even then, it's... Or I guess serving Congress, it would be. NATO is such a lost cause, too much influence with the EU. Well, I mean, the other thing with NATO that's lost is when it was created and why it was created. It was created because of the Soviet Union. The Soviet Union doesn't exist anymore. And so that you want to know why there's fear-mongering about them reforming the Soviet Union is because NATO really doesn't have a purpose, because there's no Soviet Union, but they need to keep NATO together. So they're like, well, they're going to reform the Soviet Union. Nobody can out-debate Vance. Our debates really, do they really matter? There's like one debate a year, bro. That's the thing with debate. I feel like we have such little debates. Oh, I guess the primaries will have a lot of debates, though. The primaries do have a lot of debates. I correct myself. Lift some weights. You're joking, right? You know I have like 50 pounds of muscle. Come on. Guys, please like the stream. Please like the stream. That's I need well, I should have said that earlier. Should have said that earlier. No multi-citizens, dual citizenship. Yeah, the dual citizenship's got to go away. I mean, seems pretty obvious. Tim Walz is desperate to be relevant, but it's not even like good policy. I mean, he's basically running the 2024 campaign all over again. The campaign that where they just got their asses kicked. So it's like this guy is a complete idiot. He's running on the same things they just lost. We still love DEI. We just lost the popular vote and lost all the swing states. But I mean, the guy is obviously not going to go anywhere in these primaries. He's got this like slight name recognition because he was the VP candidate, but it's like, why is Anonymous so woke? Because that account was sold to a bunch of liberals and they tried rebranding it under liberal propaganda. It's a fucking joke. Without Kamala, maybe he'll make Kamala his VP, and he'll be the president this time. Or he'll run for president with Kamala as his VP. Imagine they did that. They're like trolling at that point. You gotta be trolling. Remember when Wallace was likable and Vance was unlikable? Wallace was only likable because he was like, he came off as like a stupid white guy that was like trying to be nice. And he's like, oh, white people are racist. I'm just some big dummy. Remember that? I used to say that all the time about Walls. He's like, I'm just a stupid, clumsy white guy. White people are racist. We're not threatening. We're feminine white guy. I mean, that's what it was. That was the bit he was playing, and so like it got him a good approval rating at the beginning. And there was also a lot of negativity about Vance. Like the media immediately smeared him, the liberal media, and they were able to like paint him as this like negative, like racist villain. I guess I don't even know. How do you think Jeffrey Goldberg's number got into the Signal group chat? You're not familiar with Signal. He probably just clicked on the wrong contact. I mean, they had 19 people in that, which is, you can click it. But they tried saying like his name was under a different contact or something, and it was wrong. And I mean. And we'll look at this. Bama's going to win, possibly Elite Eight. This will be a good finish. Florida, Maryland. I need Bama to win, and I think, yeah. Well, actually, I think I have Maryland winning this game. Huh. But I know I have Bama winning, and then I think Maryland, and then I have Duke winning, and then I have Texas Tech winning. I really need Duke and Texas Tech to win. But that would be no upsets then if that happened. Maybe Florida will lose. I don't know. Did you see Goldberg interview? He's so shady. Yeah, I saw his interview where they asked him They asked him to release it. He's like, I don't want to do that. And then he eventually did release it. But yeah, he hates Trump. He's a Trump hater. It's unfortunate that it happened. There's no doubt about it. You know, he gets to do his gloating, look at when I recover and I'm a journalist and all this bullshit. So, but I don't really, pay attention to like these journalists or whatever. The bottom line is this shouldn't have happened. And so it needs to be corrected. I don't give a fuck about a journalist or whatever. Remember when libs tried turning January 6th into the new 9/11? Ollie Margaret should let you bet whether they'll try and do that. Well, they're done with the whole January 6th thing because it obviously didn't impact American voters. January 6th happened, and then the next election, Trump won the popular vote. To be fair, it was, almost 4 years after at that point, but still. So it's kind of like they dropped that whole thing with January 6th. I mean, they had to. It's the people spoke. It obviously didn't matter to them too much. Just give us Greenland for continuing of NATO support and reduce tariffs. I mean, is that a good deal for us, honestly? Do we really want to stay entangled with NATO? But I mean, yeah, that's something that can be worked out. I mean, that's the thing, is Trump can leverage U.S. military and how powerful we are to either leave NATO or stay in NATO. What happens to Puerto Rico after Alberta? Puerto Rico needs to be they need to be independent. They need to go independent. Or listen, we have military access to Puerto Rico, so we would want to keep that, and we keep them as a territory. Puerto Rico is not, they're not permitted to become a state. It wouldn't work logistically. It wouldn't work. Any news on Diddy files? Not that I've seen. No. Reminds me of The View when they said January 6th was one of the worst days in history. Yeah. It was all a psyop, too. How Trump demanded the National Guard. They didn't allow him to have it. Crazy. Wouldn't Greenland vote Democrat? They wouldn't vote at all. They don't have the population to. Doesn't matter. And if they ended up getting the population like Alaska, it'd probably be Republicans moving up there because of the climate. Do you think conservatives in Canada will have massive protests? Oh yeah, there'll be an immediate negative reaction, and there'll probably be immediate shock polls about Alberta leaving, if I had to guess, which will really kickstart them possibly leaving and having an actual referendum. Like, I think the next step would be them to have an actual time frame to have a referendum if Carney wins. Hopefully that's what ends up happening. Trump trying to wrestle with Secret Service was pretty epic. Well, Trump gave a speech on January 6th, and he told people to be peaceful. You're wondering about the base in the Atlantic that the UK is trying to give to that island nation out of guilt? I don't know. Is it the Falkland Islands? Is it Bermuda? News about Trump's executive order to modernize government payments is going way under the radar. You think it means XRP to the moon? I'll look into that. Maybe I'll do a video on that tomorrow. That's the cutting edge stuff that this administration is really looking at, and it's important. You need to use technology in all of this, and crypto and all of it. Makes it easier. Do you think if Europe actually kept their word and sent troops to Greenland, wouldn't that make the EU an aggressor in the case of Greenland, since they want to get independence? No, they would say they're protecting Greenland since they don't have a military against U.S. aggression. They wouldn't try and acquire Greenland. If they were the aggressor, they would be sending troops to occupy the country. They would be sending them in solidarity with Greenland to protect. It's a sham. These countries. You even threaten to send troops to fight us. Are you a joke? And we're paying for most of NATO. Are you fucking kidding me? You're like some of these European countries need a wake up call, a real big wake up call. It's all this pompous, arrogant bullshit that they do. I guess the invasion of Ukraine wasn't enough, but it's like we're gonna send troops to presumably fight the United States against in Greenland. What the fuck are you talking about? It wouldn't be the first time America funded a war against itself. Right, that's what it would be. That's because of how much money NATO gets from us. If Eastern Canada became surrounded by the United States after Western is annexed, would there be no hope for them to survive without Alberta's natural resources? Well, they could survive. They would just be they would be severely weakened as a country, Eastern Canada. They could survive, and honestly, we would help them survive. We don't want them to collapse completely. We don't want anything. We don't want those people to have anything to do with the United States in Eastern Canada at all. We would help them survive and just keep them as a country. They would just be Canada. Canada would just be smaller. But I mean, we would take the territories as well. That's also a requirement if we take Western Canada, is the territories. Which is just my prediction. I mean, none of this has been talked about really by anyone. I mean, some people. I mean, we're just surmising that it would just be easier to take Western Canada than all of Canada in terms of voting purposes and the resources that are in Western Canada. Any news about Iran? Not that I've seen. I know they're gearing up for some missile strikes from Israel, so I'm not going to be looking forward to reporting on that if that happens. Why not let Iran have nukes? North Korea has them. Well, North Korea has really toned down versions. They don't have technology to really have anything that's crazy threatening. But it's because of Israel. They don't want any other Middle Eastern. But I mean, it'll be interesting. This whole NATO stuff is very interesting in terms of the dynamic with Greenland. I wonder if Trump tries to utilize that, like, we'll leave if you don't allow us to do this, and we need backing on this, and you can throw your weight around a little bit if you're the United States on this type of stuff. The United States doesn't send any money to NATO. Well, yeah, through military equipment, absolutely. Take away Western Canada, save us from Eastern. I mean, there are a lot of people that think that. There's also people that think, well, they just want to be independent. But I mean, again, it depends on the election result. Yeah, I saw what the China said about I showed speed promoting positive relations. Hilarious. It's like good Chinese propaganda, like the cities and stuff. I saw that. Tim Walz was out giving his boomer thoughts. Oh my god, dude, this guy. This is like, you think this is like 2015 type stuff.
Well, Sammy, thank you. And to all the young people who are here, I just pause for a moment and look around and look at, I'm especially talking about these old white guys who seem to disappoint us on a regular basis in this country.
They've only built the entire country, white guys. It's nothing special. They only built the Constitution. They created everything. They created all the infrastructure. It's also, but it's like, this is like 2015 type stuff too. Like, broccoli, yeah, those coins are, you know, when they're like, they're tied to some influencer like that. Well, he's not an influencer, CZ, but I don't know, man. Those are inorganic type coins. Oh, he's doing the same thing that he did in July and August. It didn't work once. I guess do it again. All right, guys, that's going to do it for this live stream. I'm going to end it. Please like the live stream. Make sure you like the live stream. And yeah, I saw about that investigation onto the Ashley Babbitt killing. I saw that. All right, I'll see you guys.